Hi, this is Gilles, the radio prepper from radiopreppers.com. And here goes the bells. Anyway, we're going to talk about military radios for prepping, and in particular this model, the British RT320. Now, those radios are just incredible. They seem like they've been built on another planet compared to amateur gear. It's just a different way of building things, making things. It's an aluminum brick. There's no other way to describe it. You could step on it, run over it with a car. You could throw it in a river. It's just gonna keep on going, and that's their strong point. That's why I really like them. Also, from a prepping standpoint and from a field operation standpoint, they have a very low current draw on receive, about 175 milliamps, which is nothing. I mean, that's less than an FT817ND. It's about the same as a KX2, which is incredible, because on a small 4 amp hour battery, these things will last forever, and that's pretty important. It also has 30 watts of power, which is also quite a bit. You can choose between 3 watts and 30 watts by just moving a switch. So that's also a very good feature. It comes with a built-in tuner, which is also very useful, because you can use these radios with all kinds of antennas. And here I have the whip, military whip. You can't see it, but here it goes. It's 2.5 meters long, which is not that much, really. And the whip was historically, or I guess still used today with other radios, for a short range communications, mostly I think using CW, which is Morse code. So they were not used for skip and long distance communications. For that you use a long wire. So I'm going to turn it on. I'm already hearing someone here, which is a good sign. And then I'm going to look on the chart here for which setting for the tuner to use. And if I want to use the whip on 14 megahertz, I'm going to have to use, I think it's C4, easy to remember. From my experience, I think I can probably use it on C2 or C3, but here I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4. It's already on C. So I'm going to choose a frequency. I'm on 14300 here, and you may notice that on the dial it's 14302, because the dial frequency is 2 kilohertz above the, I would call it the amateur frequency, I guess. If I was to go on CW, the frequency would be spot on. Okay, so I'm going to move away from 14300 because I don't want to tune down there, cause any trouble. So I'm going to move down 2 kilohertz, and in CW I'm going to press the Morse key, and we're going to use at the little meter here, and I'm going to try to get the maximum deflection. And I'm not getting much, so I'm going to move to C3. So I didn't get to finish this video yesterday. Now it's Sunday, about 5:45 p.m. and we'll continue the tuning. So I have it now on C3, and if I remember well, the result wasn't very good, so keep an eye on this gauge here, and let's see. I'll move it a bit. There we go. Better, but not great. Let's go on C2. Now that's pretty good. C1 just to check. Nah, okay, so C2 on the tuner for 20 meter with the whip and a 10 meter counterpoise. This is also about the RT320, which is the British military manpack from the late 70s and mostly 80s. So here's the tuner. Here we have the band selector, which by the way should be turned only clockwise to make it last longer, to avoid any damage to the turret. Here you have the frequency dials, 10 megahertz, 100 kilohertz, 10 kilohertz, and 100 hertz. Here's the mode selector with AM, CW wide, SSB, which is USB only, then CW narrow, I think it's 250 hertz, and the frequency check here, the gain button, which is the volume, and here we have the off switch with the antennas option here to tune. Then low power, we're about 3 watts, high power 30 watts, and the battery check. The battery I'm using, by the way, is a 5 amp hour LiPo, so I still don't know how that's going to work. I don't have the charger yet, but the battery arrived already charged, so, and that's about it. So let's here see about the pro and cons of military radios for prepping. The main advantage, of course, is the ruggedness. Those things are built like a tank, like I said. There's just nothing like it in the even commercial or, of course, amateur market. Another pro that is very important in my opinion is that it only draws 175 milliamps on receive, which is very little, which means that it's going to last a very long time on a battery like this. The original battery is about 4 amp hour, and I have a 5 amp hour battery here, so the original battery is supposed to last about 12 hours with a 9:1 ratio for transmitting and receiving. So that's very important. It's actually less than half of the current draw of a Yaesu FT817ND, about the same as a KX2. So those are the main 2 points, in my opinion, that are that make this radio very desirable for prepping, but not all aspects of prepping, because of course we also have the cons, and the cons are mainly the weight. It's pretty damn heavy. I mean, this thing is, like I said, an aluminum brick. It's not a light radio. I did not take it with me for my Pyrenees trek because that would have just been way too heavy. Another con is that you have to dial the frequency using those dials here, and so you can't really browse looking for stations. You pretty much have to know where to go and which frequency you're supposed to meet someone. You can kind of browse using the 10 kilohertz knob, and I put the kilohertz knob on 2 or 7, which will give me a 0.0 or 0.5 frequency basically. But it's pretty it's a pain. So what is it good for? Well, exactly what it was designed to do, which is to be used on some kind of patrol where you have to make contact with a base, and you know which frequency you're going to be on. The whip, like I said, was mostly used for short distance contacts like ship to shore or between stations a few miles away. So that's what it's very useful for. If you are not carrying anything else, then the weight isn't a problem. I wouldn't suggest to get a radio like this one for simply carrying with your bug out bag or weapons or anything like that, because it's just too much weight, and there are better choices today. Another con is that radios like the RT320 is an excellent radio, but it's old. The capacitors start to fail after about 30 years, so it's not going to last another 30, that's for sure. Something's going to happen before that. Mine is okay, so I'm sure it has a few good years left, but and usually you'll get some warning signs, like the frequency, variations in frequency. So I don't think they would fail dramatically, but still, you're going to start having problems. They are more recent military manpacks, of course, but they're very expensive. You can even buy new ones, actually, like a Kodan, for instance. Those cost a few $1,000s. You can probably find like a PRC, I think 2,000 for a couple grand, and those are used radios, and so they cost a whole lot of money. I think this one, the RT320, cost about $15,000 in the 80s. So imagine. So they cost a lot of money if you want something more recent. Am I using this one for prepping? Well, I'm not much of a prepper really, but I really like it because of the ruggedness. There's just nothing like it. I mean, you have to use it. You have to handle it to realize how strongly built that radio is. It's just incredible. And that's the main point. Also that, of course, the batteries can last a very long time. And that's pretty much it. I would not use them for if you're bugged in, so to speak, because of the lack of tuning. Other than that, it's not really a problem, but you get really tired of turning those knobs after a while. I would not use them for, bugging out or very long distance trek or anything like that because of the weight. But anything in between, like, leaving your camp for a day or something like that, keeping in contact with the base, I don't think there's anything better. And that's what it was made for. Well, that's all I can think of right now. Let's try to make some contact. I don't think it's going to happen because of I'm using the whip, so usually the whip, you have to be lucky and the conditions have to be really good to make a contact. But we'll give it a shot. Here's my battery setup with the Fluorion, never heard of brand, but 5 amp hour LiPo and Anderson poles. Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee. Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee, Manpack Portable.
Whiskey Bravo interrogation. Repeat again your call.
Roger, Roger. Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee. Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee, Manpack Portable. Over.
Difficulty for me. I sorry, my friend. Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo India. This is the Italia Tango 9, Golf Quebec Golf. Over.
Roger, Italia Tango 9 Golf Quebec Golf. This is Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee. Whiskey Bravo Yankee. QSL.
Roger, my friend. Okay, Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee, it's about 73, 5 by 9, and using our report is my station. It's my personal name, Rosario, like Romeo Oscar, Sierra Alpha Romeo India Oscar, and me transmitting the capital, Sicily Island. Florida 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee, party to you?
Roger, Roger, Rosario, thank you very much. You are a 3 here, 3 in the north of France. I have no S-meter using a RT320 military manpack. QSL?
Roger. At the moment is very difficult in the QR sequence of frequency and many QR sequence of frequencies, my friend. I repeat again, Italy Tango 9, Golf Quebec Golf is my personal name, Rosario. And you, Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee, party to you?
QSL, that is correct. Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee, using a military manpack RT320 with a 2.5 meter whip. 2.5 meter whip. QSL.
Mr. Gill. Roger, Mr. Gill is 100%. And the moment in the you referment in the QRZ.com is no problem, my friend. Okay, anyway. Okay, my friend, thank you very much. Thank you very much for call. The best 73, Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee, Italy Tango 9, Golf Quebec Golf. Party to you, Gil.
Roger, thank you very much, Rosario, and you have a very good night. 73, Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee. Over.
Roger, Gil, thank you very much. About 73.
And here we go, one contact, Italy from the north of France. He didn't hear me very well, but that's normal with a 2.5 meter whip. Well, let's try some more, maybe.
Je bouge pas beaucoup en ce moment, moi. Voilà, Patrick, donc très content de savoir que tu es arrivé et que tu as fait un agréable voyage, je pense, il n'y a pas de problème. Et j'espère que tu vas pouvoir en profiter un maximum là, de ton séjour, Patrick. Hein. Voilà, Florida 4 Alpha Sierra Charlie, Patrick, c'est 10 de Victor QSL.
So now I'm hearing a station from Algeria, which I tried to call, but a lot of people are calling, so I wasn't able to be heard. I might give it another shot, but otherwise I'll try CW, Morse code, probably on 30 or 40 meter, and see if I get anywhere. I can check the reverse beacon network on the internet and see if automated station get my signal. So otherwise, very happy with the RT320. So let's try to make maybe 1 or 2 contacts, but it's getting cold here, and I'm not going to try much longer. Whiskey Bravo Yankee. Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee.
Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee. Italy, Whiskey number 8, Radio Hotel. Thank you for the call, my friends. My name is Stefano. Sierra Tango Echo Foxtrot Alpha November Oscar. UTH South Italy. Thank you, my friends. Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee. IW8 RRH, over.
Roger, Roger. Thank you very much. Here you are a 5 in the north of France. No S-meter. I'm using a military manpack with a 2.5 meter whip. 2.5 meter whip. QSL.
QSL, see up and down. Up and down the fourth signal station, my friends. The new copy. As your name, the location at your station, my friends. At my name is Stefano. At your signal station at the 5, 6, 7, 8. I say up and down. It's a lot of propagation. At the U4 disturber, the familiar QRA. Sorry, the son of English is very good. At Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee, Italy Whiskey number 8, Radio Hotel for QSL at 20 meter. At the condition, at the Campbell Tango Sierra 950 Sierra Delta X-ray. At the amplifier automatic resolution on 1 kilowatt and the power and the use at this moment. At this antenna, the 4 element and the Yagi. At the direction, the North Europe, my friend. Matthew, Foxtrot 4. Whiskey Bravo Yankee, IW8 RRH, over.
Roger Stefano, thank you very much. Again, you are 5 here, Radio 5, no S-meter. I'm using a military manpack portable, 30 watts into a 2.5 meter whip. 2.5 meter whip antenna, QSL.
Okay, use blood ready next frequency. Okay, at the 5959 is correct. You're missing signal. Thank you, my friend. At the sorry, the new copy 100%. Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee at the next log, station, at the Whiskey. I3 Whiskey 8 Radio Honolulu at the next contact. Thank you at the final weekend and your family, my friends. Ciao, bye. And it's calling on test at 20 meter. Calling Italy Whiskey number 8 Radio at the Radio Hotel. Italy Whiskey number 8.
Okay, so he said goodbye.
Romeo Honolulu. Italy Whiskey number 8, Radio Hotel calling test 20 meters, standby, over.
Alright, so we're done. He couldn't hear me very well, but we made contact.
Tango Alpha, final game.
Roger, this is Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee, Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee. You are 5, no S-meter in the north of France, using a manpack portable military radio RT320 into a 2.5 meter whip QSL.
Thank you very much, and for the 4 Whiskey Bravo Yankee, 73, merci beaucoup. This is Lima Zulu 304, Mike Echo Delta, cure that?
Roger, thank you very much, and you have a very nice evening. 73, Fox 4, Whiskey Bravo Yankee.
Lima Zulu 304, Mike Echo Delta. Lima Zulu 304, Mike Echo Delta, CQ20.
One more in the bag.
Lima Zulu 30.
10 meters is booming. There's just so many people right now. I guess it's the first day the propagation is good this year. So I'm going to try to call, but it's going to be hard. I have full deflection on the meter, so I'm putting out probably the whole 30 watts. Much less is radiated through the 2.5 meter whip, of course, but in CW it is very efficient, so very little power goes very far. I'm actually very curious to see the result on the reverse beacon network. So I'm going to call a couple more times. I'm not going to stay too long because it's getting cold again. So I'm just going to call a couple times, and we'll see on the report if I landed anywhere. But I'm sure it's working pretty good. I don't hear anybody replying, but it's hard to hear the tone on the RT320 because it's 2 kilohertz tone, so 2000 hertz, it's pretty high pitched. So let's just quit for tonight. It's getting late. But so basically, should you get a military man pack for prepping or for anything else for that matter? Well, sure. If you don't want to spend too much money, you can go wrong with the RT320, and that's the one I would recommend. They're very easy to find from England. The guy I bought mine from, his name is Steve Slack. I think it's clansman.co.uk or something like that. I'll double check on that. But so you can find one in decent shape like mine, probably for a couple hundred, 250 British pounds. I think I paid 200 for mine, or 250, I'm not sure, but of course, having it shipped to the US can be fairly expensive because of the weight. Here in France, it wasn't too far, so I didn't pay much, but I did get a battery for it. But I have the LiPo pack here, which seems to work pretty well. Other than that, yeah, it's fairly inexpensive, really, and it's a good radio for what it is. It's kind of old, yeah, but it works really well. So it's a good thing to get. If you do order one from the US, though, make sure that you fill the FCC form. There's an FCC form to fill for importation, and the seller will tell you about that. But make sure you do fill one up, because if you have a seller that sends you one without the form, you can get in trouble. So, and that's it, really. Military man packs, definitely a good choice. Not for everything, but they're so rugged, watertight, very strong, and they have a very low current draw. Here are the results of the reverse beacon network for my last calls on 30 meter. I was heard in Austria, Iceland, Slovenia, Italy, and Hungary, which is pretty nice. It's a very good result for a 2.5 meter whip on 10 megahertz.
I wanted to mention another advantage of military man packs, and that's their coverage. Usually from 2 or 3 megahertz to 30 megahertz for HF models. That includes CB frequencies for emergency only, of course, but it's good to have, and you can listen to CB as well. Also, the VHF man packs, like the PRC 351 station, which I believe goes from 30 to 70 megahertz. That includes the 6 meter and, for those who can use it, the 4 meter band. And they are pretty cheap and even lighter than the 320. So for any kind of patrolling, those would be a very good option. You won't get skip usually, so it's not for long distance. But for a local distance, local range, it's a pretty good radio. So I might get one of those. They're pretty cheap as well. So, and that concludes our little video about military man packs. Again, check out radiopreppers.com.